Welcome back to the Community Review on Hot 92.3. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. The 4 agreements, the 5 agreements, you've heard me talk about them before. We've talked a lot about it on the air when we're talking about how to create a better health, wealth, and self for ourselves. This book is often one that we refer to. On the phone with us, you will not believe it. It's Don Miguel and Don Jose Ruiz. Good morning. Buenos dias.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be in your show.
Oh, you just don't know how many of my listeners have read your book. They love your book. We talk about it all the time when we're talking about making a better life for ourselves and understanding ourselves better and, working through situations better. Your book is always at the top of the list as something that we refer to. So it is such a pleasure to have you here. Tell me a little bit about the journey that brought you to the 4 agreements and why you wanted to share all of that with all of us.
I feel very lucky to grow up in my family because they carry a very old tradition, the tradition of the artist, which means Toltec. Toltec means artist. And in that tradition, everything is about enjoy life. And since I was a child, I learned that everything is possible if we really wanted to. And this is how I grew up and seeing the world with that point of view. And many times I just didn't understand why not everybody accomplished what they wanted to. Because as soon as I want to do something, just like magic, it happened. But I think it was just how I learned from my parents and my grandfather. Anyway, in that follow this point of view, I became a medical doctor. I became a surgeon. In a certain point, because of an accident, I returned to accomplish my training with my mother, mainly. And I decided to change my point of view. Instead of being a surgeon, I decided to go deeper into the human mind and start having apprentices. I became what they call a shaman. That is just a word. It really doesn't mean, it's not a big meaning. But it helped me to go more into human mind and to understand every action and reaction, to find out that humans, really, we are very predictable because we follow action reactions. By the actions that we have, we see all the possible reactions. And it was so easy to see the simplicity of life. It just follow what I call common sense, what I learned from my family. Then I have a lot of apprentices, and I was practicing with all of them, teaching them. And I decided to create a book, like a kind of a manual, to show just pure common sense, something that everybody knew since they was born, but they forget because we accumulate so much knowledge, we hear so many opinions, and we stop practicing that common sense, and we complicate of life in a very strong way. We create our personal hell when obviously we was born to live in our own personal heaven, because heaven and hell only exist in the mind and is not really spiritual. But with the decisions that we made, we create an easy or a difficult life. Then with these 4 agreements, I introduced my apprentices as a life of the artist, which means the life of a Toltec, following 4 simple agreements that have the power to break all those agreements that are nothing but lies. And that's the ones who complicate everybody else's life. And it's very simple. The first one, as we know, is be impeccable with the word, because we use the word in order to create the story in the one we live. With the word, we create our reality that is a copy of what really exists. And it's an image, but it's our creation. We create our reality by using the word. We create a story about ourselves, and the one we are the center of the whole universe. The other 3 will support the first one. We don't make assumptions because we have the awareness that just like us, everybody else creates their own reality, which is spiritual also. And in their reality, we are only secondary characters, and they really don't know us. The only thing that they know about us is what they believe about us, and obviously is not the truth. Don't make assumptions. That gives us the immunity in the interaction that we have with ourselves, because when we learn all the knowledge and we use the word in order to create our own story, and we remember all those opinions, that's how we make all those decisions of our life. And this is nothing but assumptions. At a certain point, when we master the language, which is all the symbology that we use in order to communicate with each other, then we start hearing a voice in our head that nobody else can hear but us. And we call it thinking. And it's a voice that is talking all the time. And it is obvious that it's not real. It's everything that we learned before. Then we are programmed to make all those assumptions. And if we have the awareness and we avoid to make the assumptions, we create peace in our mind. And all those words, all those thinking just stop and life becomes extremely easy. And the fourth agreement that perhaps is my favorite one is about action. Always do your best, because with the other three agreements, it's only in the mind, it's our imagination. And we create everything in our imagination, but in order to make it come real, we need to take the action. And wherever I go around the world and see all those beautiful cities, I know that every single object first exists in the human mind, and with the action, they make it real. And with these four agreements, it's the introduction of this way of life. It's like going into school and practice, because it's practice what makes the master. And the fifth agreement is the conclusion. It's like the graduation for applying these four agreements. And I think Jose will explain us about this fifth agreement.
Yes, Jose, tell me, what led to the fifth agreement?
Well, what led to the fifth agreement was one of the biggest issues I had in life is when my father had a heart attack, and when he was in the emergency room, he called for me, and I went into the room, and he asked me, he said, Jose, he was happy to see me, but when I went inside the room, it was for the first time I see him weak, I see him without strength, and I started crying. Everything he taught me went to, let's say I forgot it, went to the trash. I was disrespecting him by crying and putting my victimization in his presence. And with little strength he had, he stand up, he looked me into the eyes, and he asked me, is that the way you're going to celebrate the death of your father? Please get out of the room and fix yourself. And when he said that to me, it was like a shock, a big shock. So I left the room, and I saw my selfishness. I saw my selfishness that I was going to take away the last moment of this great, beautiful man's life who has given freedom to many people. And that I was going to use his death to hurt myself. I can see a selfishness inside of me. And one of the things that I noticed is that I was using his death against me, and he wasn't even dead yet. And I can see right there what he used to talk about all the time to us apprentices, that we are addicted to suffering, that as humanity, we take a story that will hurt us, that we deserve, and we program ourselves to hurt ourselves with it, and to be victim and not to overcome that. In that moment, I was seeing the illusion breaking down into an action, so I went back into the room and I grabbed my father's hand and I said, I'm with you now, Father. And he put a big smile and he says, welcome back home again. But I want you to do me a big favor. I want you to do me a big favor and respect Jose. If I'm here or not, your mission in this life, as the mission for everybody in this life, is to take care of their humans, to take care of their body, their mind. It's the beginning where one takes action of this, because it's where we take everything personal, it's where we make assumptions, it's where we create a future reality that makes us suffer, and we empower it. So please, son, when you go out into the world, when I'm not here anymore, I want you to do me a big favor. And that favor was to be skeptical, but to learn to listen, to be skeptical of all those opinions inside my own head that every time I say I cannot make it, I'm not good enough, no one loves me, all those are just programs in my head that I supported over the years. But knowing that action, when my father was telling me that I'm here to take care of my human, then that began to take action. And one of the things he said to me, he says,